Consider this: a spacecraft the size of a car drifting alone through the void, 14.5 billion miles away from home, carrying with it not just human technology, but a heartbeat, a voice. Voyager 1 has been traveling through space for nearly 5 decades, whispering secrets from the edge of our known universe. It was designed to watch but never to do anything, to listen but never to talk. Nevertheless, something changed just a few weeks ago. Unintelligible signals began to arrive, pulses with an impossible level of accuracy. Patterns nested in one another. Uncommanded instrument activation, and then came the drift. Voyager wasn't just moving anymore. It was being pointed in the right direction, something that doesn't make sense. Something that can't be seen by any telescope we have, but is real. Enough to change the course of a 1977 launch machine. Was it a mistake? A coincidence? Or did something in the void between stars respond? What you're about to see is not science fiction. These are NASA's own findings, carefully concealed in classified documents, but now being made public. Because Voyager may have just done what no probe in history has ever accomplished. It may have received a response from them, rather than Earth or us. Voyager 1's journey began with a rare cosmic alignment, a window that only opens once every 175 years. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune had lined up like stepping stones across the solar system. NASA took advantage of the opportunity to construct 2 spacecraft, Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, that could use the gravitational pull of each planet as a slingshot to reach the next one. Engineering marvels of the 1970s. These probes were built with less computing power than a digital wristwatch, yet designed with such foresight that they're still functioning today. Voyager 1 turned north out of the ecliptic, out of the solar system's plane, toward the stars after stunning encounters with Jupiter and Saturn. Although its planetary mission was over, its legacy was just getting started. Over the decades, it continued its silent voyage, moving 1 million miles a day into the cosmic dark, from the edge of the heliosphere through the termination shock, and finally in 2012 crossed the threshold into interstellar space itself. It transmitted data. None of these places had ever been explored by humans before. But out there, beyond the sun's protective bubble, the environment was far from empty. Scientists were unable to fully explain Voyager's observations. Strange oscillations, magnetic fields that remained constant, denser plasma. The data became stranger as it went deeper. Then something happened to change everything. NASA's control team for Voyager noticed something extremely troubling. Toward the end of 2017, its antenna, which was supposed to be aligned with Earth, was reporting a misalignment, but the signal strength was perfect. As if the spacecraft were out of position but perfectly locked onto us at the same time. It was like watching someone stand silently in front of you while hearing them speak from behind a wall. Internal checks revealed nothing wrong. Then came the wave. Tons rhythmic plasma oscillations that didn't fade, didn't scatter, and didn't match anything we'd ever seen before. And then temperature spikes. Every 4.8 hours, Voyager's external systems would heat up by nearly 30, then cool back down, like clockwork, like breathing. The energy wasn't coming from inside. Something external was touching the probe. Worse, still despite the stress, Voyager's systems began to operate more efficiently. There was no degeneration here. This was efficiency. The 1970s machine was changing how it processed energy, rerouting power like an AI would today. However, Voyager lacks AI. It lacks independence. And yet it was anticipating commands, reacting before instructions were sent. Either something else had taken control, or it had evolved into something else. By early 2025, Voyager 1's position was off, not wildly, but just enough to notice. A few kilometers at first, then hundreds, then thousands. The deviation wasn't erratic. It was deliberate and measured, as if Voyager were being pushed in a specific direction. Engineers at JPL tried to correct it. They fired backup thrusters and issued countercommands. Despite acknowledging the instructions, Voyager remained on course. NASA's orders seemed to be overridden by something, like a ship changing tack against the wind. Voyager was making slow, calculated adjustments, and the destination, a patch of space 4.3 light-years away. Nothing known is there. No stars, no planets, just a blank spot on our deepest maps. But Voyager is going to it. With precision, as if answering a call when NASA sent the command to reactivate Voyager's long-dead camera system, a Hail Mary. Attempt to see what lay ahead, they expected silence. What they got was a response. The camera came online. Not just online, but functioning. It's better than its specs allowed. And it didn't send a photo. It sent a spiral, rather than a random swirl. This was a mathematically flawless pattern dense with fingerprint. Map, message layered, concentric. Information. Not only was this image strange, was impossible for Voyager's 1970s hardware to create. The system hadn't just been reactivated, it had been reprogrammed one by one. Other long-dormant instruments followed on. None of them behaved like they used to. Instead of raw data, they sent compressed, structured packet patterns within patterns. Information that appeared optimized by something smarter than Voyager. Something other. The timing came next. Voyager is at the center of a three-dimensional web made up of pulses from distant pulsars. The map they created pointed toward the same point. Voyager was drifting toward an invisible node in interstellar space. A blank region, or maybe a doorway. Voyager had entered an observational vacuum, a region where neither light nor data from the outside world could pass through. However, the signals Voyager received within this void became stronger and more structured. They weren't random bursts or cosmic static. They were pulses that were spatially layered, precise, and timed. Something was there, sending messages rather than radiating or reflecting light. A packet of raw binary code containing thousands of lines was sent by Voyager's low-gain antenna in one of the most bizarre transmissions ever received from an interstellar probe. Initially dismissed as a glitch or cosmic ray interference, the signal was passed to AI decoding algorithms, which revealed something staggering. Repeating motifs, base force sequencing, and embedded fractal symmetry that mirrored the DNA. Double helix structure. Scientists couldn't move. Either something was using it to send a message in biology's language, or Voyager was breaking down in the most planned meltdown ever seen. Codon sequences were present, but no proteins were. Produced patterns resembled organic chains, but they also contained logical errors, like deliberate mutations. Encrypted but not broken. This wasn't DNA, it was meta-DNA, a scaffold of something biological. Reinterpreted as a message, as if whatever sent it knew how life works. Or how we work. The independent spin of Voyager's gyroscopes began shortly. After the DNA-coded signal, the movement wasn't random. It was a dead system that tapped messages into space and matched the rhythms of Morse code. Even more alarming was the fact that when those patterns were converted into audio, they produced harmonic tones with frequencies that were analogous to human speech patterns, but lacked phonemes or language. It was like hearing a ghost of communication, something trying to match us syllable by syllable. Psychologists, cryptographers, and even linguists were brought in. They discovered something terrifying. The tones rise and fall in accordance with surprise, fear, and curiosity, and are associated with emotional emphasis. It didn't say anything. It was speaking with intent, as if it had been listening to us for decades. K was learning our rhythms. Additionally, it was attempting to respond. Then came the final shock. Voyager 1 changed direction. A controlled, deliberate arc, not a drift, not an anomaly, but it turned into a region with no known mass, no gravitational pull, and no celestial body to explain the change. Not back toward Earth, not toward a star. The engineers proved it. Voyager One had executed a maneuver it wasn't programmed to perform, with no active propulsion. No command sent. The turn wasn't random. It aligned with the pulsar grid received. Days before, a precise angle down to the decimal, as if Voyager had received coordinates, ... and accepted them. It is now traveling toward an unknown spatial corridor. A tier, a fold, a transit point. Nobody is aware, however. A single fact is now resonating throughout mission control like an old prophecy. Just now, Voyager 1 turned. It did. So because something else did, not because we told it to. It was never intended for. Voyager 1 to survive this long ... it was made for a tour of the planets. It's not an interstellar pilgrimage. It was never intended to transmit data beyond the solar wind's edge. And furthermore, it was never designed to accommodate anything. It was designed to speak, to make a golden record of whale songs, human laughter, and far-off greetings, and to announce our presence to the stars. But now, decades after we last touched its frame, after it slipped into the void and disappeared into silence, it has done something no one predicted. It turned, not in failure, but in purpose. The spiral codes and harmonic pulses, the trajectory shifts, the signals that recorded and sent, all point to the same horrifyingly beautiful conclusion. Voyager 1 wasn't the only one. It never existed ... alone. Someone was watching, listening, waiting, and now that our most distant emissary has crossed the line between silence and response, we have to ask a question that no one at NASA ever dared to speak aloud. What if there was a plan to never look back? Because Voyager didn't merely turn in space. It transformed into a tool, a messenger, an observer, a witness, and possibly a participant in narrative and history, in the hope of hearing echoes. We pointed it outward. Instead, we may have summoned a mirror. What comes next, then? What happens to Voyager? What waits at those impossible coordinates? And more importantly, when it arrives, what will we find? If this story sent a chill down your spine, something about Voyager's turn felt too precise, too timed, too human, then you need to stay with us, because this isn't the end of the transmission. This is the initial response. Sign up right away, because the next Voyager update could completely alter everything. Hit the bell so you don't miss the signal when it arrives. Tell someone who still believes that deep space is empty to read this. Comment down below. Do you think Voyager found something, or did something find it?